Hello everyone, and welcome to my final iteration for my level. And we're just going to go and start off with this. As soon as you start walking down here, you have these walls on both sides of you that are parallel, pointing you into a straight direction. And as you walk forward to my Tower of Babel, on both sides it's closed off, and they're actually angled towards the door. So then all direction goes into it, and then there's stairs leading up, which attracts the player. We have these parallel walls again, forcing us forward, and then we have a wall that's blocking our path. So we're going to look left or right to see what's going on, and then we have a light pointing to our first mechanic, which is the switches on the ground. So the black switches affect the black pillars, and the white or gray switches will affect the gray walls and pillars. So if I walk on the black one, the black walls will go up, and then if I click on the gray one, the grays will do the same. Alright, and that is introducing the first mechanic. And as we walk through here, we're going to go up these steps, and these steps will take us to the next level where we're going to introduce a new idea with the same mechanic and develop it, and gives kind of an idea of what's going to be part of these levels. So we come into a room, there's another dead end wall, and if you look over here, there's light. I have light set up like this so then the player knows that there's nothing over there, so he doesn't really have to venture. But there's light on this switch again, so we're going to go and walk on it. And this is introducing that walking on these switches will actually make a path for you, and you could start seeing these as a maze. And when I was doing the playtesting, there was actually two of the players that instantly picked up on it, and they actually asked me if this was going to be like a maze type of game, which was awesome to see that worked so easily. Here we have a golden door, introduce the golden door and the button for the golden door, and then the red light. So how this is going to work out is that you shoot at the button, and it brings the door down and has the green light appear. In my first iteration, this button actually did not disappear, and it disappears now, so then the player knows that it actually activated. So if the button in later levels is away from the door and you can't see the door at the time, you can shoot at it, and if it disappears, you know that the door actually went down and you did something right. We're going to continue up now to our next area, which actually went through a big iteration from the midterm video I did. And here it is. So I took away the spawning in these areas, so now it's just a big maze area, so then the player cannot die. And the reason for this is I didn't really feel like it was necessary to kill the player or have them respawn for trying to adventure. So there's a button right there. These are black bars, so you can jump and walk across these. And as you can see, there's nothing over here, but you still know there's one. So instead of taking the correct path, you actually have to use the maze to take other routes to find this other door. And I want to do this so then there'd actually be uses to like every part of my maze if I found a new way to use it, or a new area that I could just find and use it to my advantage. And so we're going to go click on this again, which brings up the gray wall, and the black walls go down, and it opens to our next area. So now we're going to be on the 4th floor, which is one of the hardest floors besides the last one for the puzzle room. And this one is where I have lighting and direction show the most. So we already have a lighting, as you can see right there. And this is the same color as what the door is. So I'm hoping that when the player sees it, and during playtesting they instantly knew that like, oh, this is some type of golden color, there must be a button there. So this area is going to introduce the elevation, which my puzzle room uses a lot, and continues with the idea of using the maze and the switches. So we're going to go through this maze, and we're going to see how many areas there are to get to. Bring this down. Do this. There's one. we can actually go around here now, which is actually the best thing because I have this set up now. So this door looks like it can be the opening, but it isn't. And the reason why I did that is because this looks like the clear priority way to get through to the other side. And if you do it that way, then you can also find all these buttons in through this wall, which is how the light shows. But I also want to show another way where if the player figured out how to get to the door early, that they'll be rewarded by seeing these buttons. So we can go and click this button, and I'm going to show you guys the first way. So we already clicked this one, so to show elevation, do this one. This black button first showed the elevation, the switch, by bringing it up a little bit, and then when you jumped on this one, it brought it up higher again. And then we see a gold light over here. So if we walk towards it, and actually if we stand in it, you'll actually see that the button's right there. So we can go shoot at it. It disappears, we know that it's activated. And we can go through. And since this now blocks our way, we actually have to go and activate it like this. We can go around. And now if we click this, switch here, it'll open it up. And there's 3, and we have opened it. So here is where my midterm stopped before. So after this next room is going to be all new for the puzzle. So we walk through here. It's actually going to teleport us with just one light to show that there's only one way you can go, and this whole room's dark besides this one light, so you can go and walk in. And the drop is to kind of show, one, this new puzzle area that I put in, which is probably my favorite part in this room, and to show that you start from the top to show that elevation is going to be a huge thing. You no longer started at the bottom, you started at the top and dropped in to show how full this room is. So along with the black and white switches that are on the floor that you'll see in here, there's also now red and blue. And red and blue, they actually don't work side by side like the black and white do, but they show an initial path. So if we step on the red, we're going to take this red path and see what buttons we can find, because we need to find a total of 4. If I can go and jump on there and not be greedy, if I can wait. By the textures, this first room was all, I wouldn't say no textures, but it was very shiny textures, which when I playtested everyone loved. It was basically the same textures as those. But doing that, I couldn't really show off any lighting. If I did anything with lighting, it just reflected off the walls, so this room was really bright, which gave it a new look, but it was different from my other rooms that I've made, which I didn't want to happen. So I ended up taking off some of the lights and changing the textures on the wall and the materials that they're made out of. So we can start coming up here, and there's this platform here, and so you can jump and hit this one. So there's 2 ways we can go. We can go on that platform and jump to that one, or we can go to this one. We'll do this one first. And we did not make it. So we're going to continue and go through this again, and we'll actually do the labyrinth first. The cool thing about the labyrinth that I like once we get to it is that it looks like it should be simple, and it gives an old look of what like a temple would look like, it for like a Greek temple, how the pillars are set up. And you actually see there's something going on the whole time, and there's a reason towards that. So we're going to let this go up again before I make my jump. Alright, so since we have this red button clicked, this platform appears, but if we had the blue set up, this red platform would be gone and be into the wall, so we would not be able to make this area. So we can't walk into it, can't walk into it. Well, that's strange. Why is that? Well, if you can see from the side, it's actually glass. So with this light pointed here, you walk through, you realize that there's light right there, so you have to make it to the other side. But there's only one correct path, and this is all blocked by glass, so you have to find your way through. And I try to make it as not dim as possible, so then as you're walking through, you're not easily able to see the glass. So you're actually here now. So this is actually controlling the black and white button. So you click it, and it pops up, and you actually only have so much time to get to this button. There's that. Now we can actually walk back through. Walk this way, and we activated that one. So we can do this. And jump back on this. And we'll make this up. Yeah, see, there's a piece of pane glass right there. And then here we go. And here's the next button. So these pop out. And I actually have this angle so you can't climb back up here. And then there's this one over here, and you actually, no matter how you have it set up, I have glass set up around it, so you cannot shoot at it, even though it tempts you with that button over there. So now, since we've done this one, we've done 2 of the reds, so the other 2 are set up for the blue. So I'm going to go and jump down, and there's no falling damage, especially since there's elevation. And the biggest thing what I wanted to do is slowly move towards a new field that it kind of looks futuristic, but there's still stone pillars. So you're kind of wondering why all this architecture is set up the way it is, if it's supposed to be made out of stone and very old. Alright, so here's the next button. And like I said, with the blue and red switches, since we're on the blue switches now, this is closed off, so you wouldn't be able to get to that button. That platform is pulled back into the wall, so you wouldn't be able to get to there. All these are gone, so you wouldn't even be able to make it up to the elevator. So it very much stops you from what you're doing. And right here there's a light that has a golden door, but there's no way to really get into here. So from the blue you can jump in. And when doing this, as soon as you drop down, this door will actually open for you. And here's the last button. Now all these buttons are open. And there you go. This is the puzzle room. The puzzle room basically being this, adding the red and blue. For later levels, if I had more time, or if we went past the level room, I would start interacting with the black and white and the blue and red. This was basically an introduction stage to add 2 more colors, but concluding that you know how to use the switches, and the switches actually like revolve around the game. So you'll find different switches that do different things, like the time switches that you saw in the glass maze, or the black and white switches that you saw from before in the other maze, and then these color switches that determine a certain path. And this is the end. And I hope you liked the level, and that's a wrap.